All right, testing, testing. One, two, three. Hello, hi. How we all doing today? Wow, it always feels a little weird coming back to stream after being away for so long, and I feel it's been about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit longer than that. So gotta, you know, shake it out, get back into it, get comfortable again. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you all had a lovely holiday break, that you spent some time with some friends, family, loved ones, and just chilling out. There's a lot of great content over the last couple of weeks, so I feel like there was a lot to do. So it was a good break. I apologize in advance. I might be like coughing and sniffling a little bit through this stream because I'm still not feeling like 100%, but good enough to get back into it. That's another, holiday. A nice holiday gift that you usually get around this time of year is getting a little bit sick. And I avoided COVID for so long, but I'm pretty sure it got me. I don't even get to know because I have, they're all the booking and testing sites in San Francisco are booked up for weeks. So I was just like, fuck it. I'll just quarantine for like 10 weeks, 14 days, call today. Because if I find out I have it, I'm going to do the same thing anyway. So I might as well just chill at home. So that's what I've been doing and trying to get back. But thank you guys for being patient while I nursed myself back to health. It wasn't that bad. Don't worry about me. But hi, let's talk about Spider-Man. Finally, holy shit. When did it actually hit theaters? When did my Spider-Man spoiler for your review, which was like awful, I hated it. I didn't like talking about the movie without actually being able to talk about that was 3 weeks ago, maybe. Like, it feels like a billion years ago, but wow. I Yeah, we're gonna dedicate this stream specifically solely for talking about Spider-Man No Way Home because it was such an incredible moment in cinematic history, and I want to dedicate all the time to going into it and really going over all my thoughts and all the things I loved, all the things that it made me think about, and then we'll do some catch-up streams throughout the week. I'm gonna do like 3 streams this week. So today I'm gonna do Spider-Man No Way Home's full spoiler review. If you guys haven't seen Spider-Man yet, I mean, I can't help you out at this point. It's been weeks. If you haven't seen it yet, it's your own damn fault. And put your earmuffs on, get out of here. Tomorrow I'm going to do a little bit of a content catch-up stream, so I'll talk about I forgot to put this in the thumbnail, but I literally just remembered it when I came downstairs today. This is The Witcher season 2. Wow, that was awesome. We had Arcane, League of Legends show. We had Matrix Resurrections. I haven't talked about the finale of Hawkeye. And then on Wednesday, I'll do Book of Boba after like I've seen the first. I think I'm going to do the same thing that I did with Hawkeye, where I waited to talk about it until like the first 3 episodes that came out, so I kind of get a better feel for the show instead of just going into it first episode and then like just taking it from there. But yeah, okay, everyone ready? Everyone who hasn't seen it can get out. We're going to talk about spoilers now. But wow, I have seen this twice now. So I saw it on opening night by myself because there's no one in San Francisco as crazy as me that I can see it. And then when I went to New York like a week later, I saw it again with Dan. And I was very pleasantly surprised about to see how what am I trying to say? The rewatch value of this movie is top notch. Like, it hit just as hard the second time. It was like I hadn't even seen it. And that's hard for a movie to do, especially a movie with that much shit in it, that like heavy of a movie. I mean, heavy with like, it was a very bold and ambitious movie, which is something I'm going to be saying a lot in this stream, but there's a lot that they did in that movie. So it was a very dense movie. Those movies are kind of hard to watch the second time around, but like, and they kind of lose their luster the more you watch them. That did not happen at all, and I don't honestly see it happening anytime soon. I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I went and I saw it the second time, because when I first saw it, I was basically crying from the second half onward, like just tears, just tears were in a constant stream down my face. Happy tears, sad tears, excited tears, shocked tears, like moved tears, just tears. And I thought, I was like wearing makeup. It's like date night. And then when I would go to see it the second time, I knew I'd cry at like the big moments. But the same thing happened. I just cried the whole time like I'd never seen it before. And it hit just as hard. I was just as engaged. It's also a long movie, and long movies are really hard to watch. The more you've seen them, it did not feel any longer the second time I'd seen it. It was just as exciting. So that was already a good sign to me of, sorry. I maybe should hit my little mute, but sorry. I feel like because I'm going to be talking a lot, it's going to kind of irritate my throat, but we're going to power through. Yeah, so that was a good sign. Regardless of what you feel, or even if you didn't love the movie, is what I'm trying to say, or even if you any kind of imperfections you can have on it, like the fact that it's still just as exciting as a movie, after second, third, fourth time watching it, shows that at it just plainly and at its core, it's just a good movie and an enjoyable experience. Because if we're thinking about it, the movie, it's not a very like incredibly deep or complex or innovative, like strictly in the narrative writing sense, but it's one that's incredibly effective. You know what I mean? Like, what am I trying to say? I have like a note. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I remember what I was trying to say. Okay. Because, so this movie doesn't have like, the most surprising storyline in the world. Of course, like I'm talking about like the multiverse. I'm talking like thematically is what I'm trying to say. Like you could kind of predict what each character was going to do, if that makes sense. But sorry, I got a little bit of a slower brain. I'm still getting back into it. When I say that it's incredibly effective, is what I mean is that the plot points, like the intentionally impactful plot points, hit really, really hard. And that's something that gives a movie rewatch value, in my personal experience. Like when the moments are set up and they pay off really, really well, it doesn't matter how many times you've seen it. Movies are an immersive experience to an extent. So it's like I'm in it. And then like I'm also like a very emotional watcher. So it doesn't take much for me to like really just get to start kind of like mirroring what's going on. And that's why I cry a lot in movies. And so if it's set up and it pays off well, like I could have seen a movie 30 times and I will cry at the same spot over and over and over again. And I feel like that's what this movie, and kind of particularly like a lot of the Home trilogy, Homecoming and Homecoming in this movie do really well. Like the impactful moments do hit really, really hard. And I, what am I trying to say? Yeah, that is something that's really effective about the first Spider-Man Homecoming movie. But actually I think I would say narratively, like the writing and thematically, that movie is actually pretty surprising. It has a really good mix of like the expected and the unexpected with the really impactful moving moments. Spider-Man Far From Home kind of like not so much. But yeah, I feel like the things that are supposed to mean a lot do mean a lot instead of the movie telling you that it's supposed to mean a lot. And I think that it's kind of one of the issues that a lot of superhero, follow my thread here. Sorry, I'm so excited to talk about Spider-Man finally, that my brain is doing that thing, which I'm sure you guys have seen on a lot of my streams, where it starts like hamster wheeling, and then I kind of like start losing all of my threads. Right back. I think that's one of the issues of superhero movies or sequel movies in general, is that as the audience, we can feel when something is just like fulfilling a Hollywood contract as opposed to a good idea, like an actual good idea. And I'm like, and I thought of that because I feel like, like Spider-Man Homecoming was like a good idea, where Spider-Man Far From Home kind of felt like it was more like fulfilling a contract, like, like setting up the Vulture with dealing kind of with the real world consequences of the Avengers. It's like a good idea. Making him Peter Parker's like crushes like dad is a good fucking idea. And like the Tony Stark father relationship, good idea. These are good ideas. And instead of just phoning it in, trying to, get to the next movie, whatever it is. And like Spider-Man No Way Home was just a good fucking idea. Like, it was a good idea. Like, bringing all three Spider-Man together was a good idea. And not only that, like, having those Spider-Man kind of there to help Peter Parker explore the isolating aspect of being Spider-Man is a good idea. So it was just a joy to be a part of. And Justin, that's like a good way to put it, is like box checking is kind of what those feels like. But that's one of the things. What was the original point that I was trying to make? That's why it hits hard. Good ideas hit hard. Woo! We made it, guys. We circled back to my original point that my hamster wheel brain was trying to make. Good ideas hit hard. Box checking does not. But it's another thing that I think I'm also going to say another thing and one of the things and one of the other things a lot in the stream. But one of the things I did love about this movie was the execution of the three Spider-Man, meaning I'm going to take a glass of water. Maybe try to think about this thought before I put it out. Yes. What I really liked about the execution of the three Spider-Man was that I was kind of scared, that it was just going to be a fan servicey. Wouldn't it be cool if all the Spider-Men were in one movie and then boom, just put them there. Everyone will freak the fuck out. Okay, mission accomplished. Bye. I really thought that was going to be like, because if Hollywood has taught us anything, that is what they like to do. But I was very, very genuinely and pleasantly surprised that it kind of went above and beyond. Like, when they brought them all together, they really looked at like, what are the opportunities that we have here, right? Like, what is the potential of the story? What is the potential of the Spider-Man archetypal story that we can tell? And like how each man's legacy, like Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland, like what their different interpretations of Spider-Man and Peter Parker have all lent to that character, and how those will interplay off of each other and kind of establish the greater Spider-Man franchise canon. That's incredible. Like, they really just they didn't do the cheap thing. They did the good idea. Like, there was an idea there, right? Like, instead of just taking let's do the all three Spider-Man, isn't that going to be awesome? They looked at it and said, if we bring the three Spider-Man in there, like, there was real love in this movie. I think that's something that kind of I felt throughout the entire movie, is a love for Spider-Man and a love for this franchise and a love for the legacy of this character. And you can see it in the way that these guys' stories were treated, because I mean, we've all seen subpar Spider-Man movies, and it sucks. We've seen subpar everything movie, and they suck. Like, you always get in excited, and then you can tell that they just like phoned it in, that they checked the boxes. And someone, and I'm sure all of you are here, are a big fan of something, it always kind of feels a little disappointing, and it feels a little bit like egg on my face. They took advantage of me when they just kind of serve you up something that feels very run-of-the-mill and very like they didn't try at all. But I feel like, whoever had the first idea of bringing all these three Spider-Men together, maybe it was Feige, maybe it was someone else, I don't know. They really took that idea and were like, no, that's not enough. Like, that's not enough. There's so much here that we could do that not only services our own universe, but pays like homage and like respect to like the past, that's the past and what they've created, and also gives them an opportunity to kind of continue that and give each person their moment as a way to let what they've accomplished shine through. It was just beautiful. It felt really, really lovely, and it felt like a joy to be a part of on screen. And it's another thing that I really loved about this movie that I kind of talked about in my spoiler-free one is that every character had a moment, you know, like in not just the Spider-Man, but like the villains as well. Because when you see him in the trailer, they flash him, right? Which of course it's like a trailer, right? Like this villain's going to be in there and this villain's going to be in there. I'm like, oh God, it's going to be a real cavalcade of chaos of just like, oh, how many Spider-Man references and cameos can we throw in there to make people go like, yeah, woo, woo, to possibly distract from, other worse things in this movie. And that it would kind of give Star Wars sequel trilogy vibes, if you know what I'm saying, where the first time I saw the 7th Star Wars, I was in it. I was in that theater like, woo, that was fucking awesome. I'm like crying. I was like, that was so dope. Holy shit. And then I went back and I saw it a second time and I was like, no, hold on. No, hold on. They did not try even a little bit. It's the same movie, and I'm such an idiot and I'm such a simp that I ate it all up. I ate it all up like an idiot. And it doesn't mean it wasn't still a fun experience, but I was just like, wow, after, the rose-colored glasses came off, I was like, they really did the bare fucking minimum in terms of story, and they really just carbon copied, and it was all fan service and it was all cheap nostalgia tricks, and it worked. And then when it faded, I was like, oh man, like, oh, that kind of sucks. Like, that really does kind of suck. And so, I've been burned before, so I was scared that it might be a little bit of that vibes, where they would just have a lot of fanfare to distract from maybe a weak movie. But that was so not the case. Like, it was just so fucking not the case, dude. Like, the villains, I don't know if you guys want me to talk about everything, because like I already kind of did a spoiler free. I'm just gonna talk about everything, because in the spoiler free review, I was like dancing around things so much that I feel like I was half finishing my sentences. But I think we can all agree, like, William Dafoe was one of like the standout moments in that movie. Like, I was it's been so long that I've seen him in anything that I was so blown away by him. Alfred Molina, incredible. Jamie Foxx was okay. Yeah, the other ones, they didn't really have much of a moment. They had like smaller moments, but like I felt what I almost wish they had let Willem Dafoe go harder, because he was like very terrifying. Like, this felt like some, campy, Oscar movie shit with his weird Green Goblin voice and all that. Like, the delivery was just impeccable, because it's just one of the things I said in my spoiler-free review is like, the William Dafoe Green Goblin and Doc Ock Alfred Molina, those are from like early 2000s action movies, which is a very different game and a very different vibe. Like, it was a lot cheekier, a lot campier, a lot more mustache twirly and like larger than life villains. And I don't think would necessarily at face value work for the kind of superhero and action movies that we make today. But I was so pleasantly surprised they worked, and they didn't necessarily change to fit today's style. I still can't tell if it's the nostalgia that made it work, if it's them. I think it might be a little bit of both. But the over the top cheesiness like just fucking worked for them. They just sold it. And like the line delivery, I mean, oh God, what is that line that William Dafoe says that is like, I'll have to think about it. The thing that, you know, that line he says where it's just like, you're trying to have it all while everyone else around you like suffers. I was just like, like all, like everything, like it was all just like laser, like all the lines were just like hitting. Even when he was like in the Spider-Man come out to play, like that part just like made me like smile so hard. Like it was just awesome. It was really, really awesome. But yeah, it's just crazy. It is crazy to me to think about like the fact that I'm talking about, and I know this might be old news or whatever, but you know, with all these old Spider-Man villains and Toby and Andrew and pulling in like multiversal shit and like magic shit and setting up the MCU for the next phase, like what this movie accomplished is just insane. Like it's so insane. Like I'm bringing it back to what I said the first time. This is such a bold and ambitious movie, and I just can't believe it happened. Like I was in the theater just the second time around, just mind blown. I couldn't believe what my eyes were seeing, because with such a crazy, ambitious, and bold movie, there is always the price sometimes where something, when you try to put that much in the movie, other things will fall by the wayside. I think the example I used in my spoiler-free review was Age of Ultron, when you try to, you know, stuff too much in one movie and it kind of gets like a little bit clunky, and it doesn't maybe hit as hard as it could have. I think this is why the Russo brothers are kind of forever cemented in history, because they were kind of like one of the first people who figured out how to put like a million fucking things in one movie and make it work, which was like, it's so crazy that they made it work, but they know how to really make that work. And this movie, I was really surprised, kind of did the same thing. There are definitely some parts where, like, if you think about it, like the movie, the pacing of this movie was actually really well done, but because there was so much in this movie and things were moving forward so fast, it was sometimes at the expense of logic, which is kind of fine. Like I'm kind of fine with it. Like I made a note here. Let me find it. Yeah. Okay. Because I this is something that I noticed in the second movie, because a lot of things were kind of like rushed or glossed over just to kind of get to the next part of the story, because there was so much to get to and so much to do. But it, like in the same way that the beginning of John Wick just kind of works, do you know what I mean? Like you're just like, oh, okay, spy network, oh, okay, gold coin, sure, who gives a fuck? All right, chase scene, let's go. Like you don't need all of it to make perfect sense. If it makes enough sense and can establish some kind of like cohesive reality, you just kind of go with it. And I kind of felt similarly for this movie as well, because I mean, if you like really think about it, like the whole Ned doing magic, it doesn't really make sense. And like, I mean, I still personally don't feel, maybe you guys can change my mind, well, maybe we can talk about this at the end, but I still don't really understand why Doctor Strange did what he did, like why he was so ready to do such like a dangerous and risky spell for such a small thing, and then not only to just do it, which was already weird, but then to be so rushed and haphazardly and unprepared putting it together, and then was just like, oh, I messed it up. Like you were the Sorcerer Supreme. Like I think you'd be a little more put together than that. But because you really think about it, it really doesn't make any fucking sense. But it also really doesn't fucking matter. Like it really doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, it did what it needed to do. The payoff was good enough. There was one, oh yeah. Then like I'm pretty sure Electro never knew who Peter Parker was. No. Did he? No, I can't remember. I watched those movies like a month or so ago. But I don't like, there's like a few things that like, if you really get into it, doesn't really make any sense. But at the end of the day, it was kind of worth it, and I don't really feel like anything really suffered. Like, I don't feel like any part of the story actually took a hit because of the thin parts of the storyline. So it doesn't really matter. Like, it was bold and ambitious, and it did what it needed to do. It got the movie from one point to the next. And when you think about all the story that's told in that movie, I don't know. It's crazy because, like, in the viewing experience, it doesn't feel exhausting or overwhelming or long, which is pretty hard, pretty fucking hard. But shit, man, I'm gonna say crazy and bold and ambitious one more time, but I will take a bold and ambitious movie over safe like any day of the week. So because when it doesn't hit, if you're doing a bold, ambitious movie, if it doesn't hit, at least it was still a fresh experience. You know what I mean? Like WandaVision, right? WandaVision obviously had a lot of issues, but it was still so innovative and so fresh. It was still a cool experience and very memorable. Like, it is still a memorable, pleasant experience in my brain. Whereas like Falcon and the Winter Soldier obviously had a lot of issues as well, but it was safe. So I'm like, never gonna fucking think about that show ever again. Like, it's gone, like, in my memory. And so that's the difference. So it's just like, I'm always down to see people take risks. I'm always here for it. That's what I would rather see. Let's bleep bloop. Where are my other notes? Hold on, I'm gonna cough again. Mute. I am muting myself when I cough, right? I'm pressing the right button. Okay. This movie also felt like another thing that I liked about it. And one more thing, another thing, is that for how big it felt, it still felt like a very classic Spider-Man story, a very classic Spider-Man Peter Parker conundrum, where like he's getting in way over his head because he's trying to do the right thing, but he doesn't really like fully understand the, gravity of the situation because he's book smart, but he's still immature and he's still a teenager. And that was actually one line that I really liked. You know what? Actually, this is a kind of a perfect segue because talking about the whole like why that Doctor Strange, why he helped or did that super risky spell doesn't really make any sense. Interplaced in that scene to me, which felt like very weird. I'm like, why is this happening? Were these moments that were still very genuine and very cool. So it was like you got distracted, you know what I'm saying? Because like, when he's changing the spell and then like Peter is just like, it felt really kind of slapsticky, like, oh wait, oh, and there's oh, like kind of like sitcom-y, and then it all crashes and he holds it and then he's just like, that very apt line, observational line where he's like, after all we've been through, I always forget that you're just a kid, dude. Like, you're 17. We really don't. Teenagers, like, scientifically don't have like perspective. Like, they have like a hard time grasping like the future and like the consequences of their actions. That's why it's like when your brain's not formed, that's what that means. And so I felt like that was a very kind of like grounding line in that kind of slapsticky moment where he was just like, oh my, you're a kid. I forget. Like, we've saved the world together, but like, I can't treat you like I treat the other ones. And kind of, I need to be a little more gentle with you, or maybe like a little more paternal in the way that I guide you through these decisions. And I also, and also in those lines, no, I'm gonna talk about that at another moment. But yeah, man, like, it just felt like a classic Spider-Man movie, which I think one of the things that people like about Spider-Man is, of course, like his relatability. We can all see ourselves in Spider-Man, and he's kind of like, one of those first like super relatable superheroes that people have like connected to across just like decades and decades. But there's kind of an ease to Spider-Man movies. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of in the same way that like Captain America is always going to like do the right thing, and you can kind of like expect the decisions that he's going to make. Same goes for Peter Parker. Like, he's always getting into shit way over his head, or trying to get involved in things that, you know, are none of his business, but he's always going to do the right thing and will fight until he's basically dead, but he won't go down easy. And it's sweet. It's sweet. And we love to see it. And you're never going to be like shocked by Spider-Man. Like, there will be shocking moments, but at the end of the day, you kind of know that you're going to at least like know, you're going to know that he's going to make the right choices. That makes sense. Yeah, because there's one thing Spider-Man loves to do. It's to take responsibility and accountability for fucking everything going on and be like, it's my fault. Ah! And you know what? He stays breaking our hearts. So I don't know. This lonely little life is so sad, but we love to see it. So yeah, I think the next thing I want to talk about, let's like really get into it, is the 3 Spider-Man. I'm so excited to talk about it. Even though everyone's been talking about it for weeks, I can finally talk about it. Oh my gosh. It was so hard. And even so, it's been really hard to not spoil it to like rando people in my life. Sorry, I coughed like right into the mic. Hold on. Okay, and I'm back. Because obviously it took like people like throughout the first couple weeks to kind of go see it, and I still actually don't know if my sister's seen it, because we rewatched the Home trilogy over the Christmas break because my sister had never seen them. I was so shocked, and I was like, you should definitely, like, trying to say it without saying, I'm like, well, you've seen the trailer, right? Like, you've seen that like Green Goblin from the Spider-Man with like Tobey Maguire's in it, and the ones from like Andrew Garfield villains are in it, like Jamie Foxx and stuff. Like, they're in the trailer. Like, you should watch those movies to like you can like really get the full experience. You know, I'm like trying to tiptoe my way around it, but I mean, I think it Tom Holland was like, I'm so happy I can talk about it now. I'm sick of the lies. I don't want to lie anymore. It's kind of how it feels like. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to kind of just reiterate some of the things I said already, but like, for any nerd especially, but like for any fan of anything, that was one of the coolest fucking things that's ever happened ever. Just like ever. That was so fucking awesome. And it was really interesting. Like, I wonder how long this happened, because I saw Spider-Man the second time, like about a week and a half after it came out. Yeah, like a week and a half after it came out, and people were still, like, that theater was still full. People were still cheering when they were, like, coming on screen. Like, the theater was still electric, like, opening night electric. I was like, damn, like, how long is this gonna go for? Because, like, usually the cheers and stuff kind of stop after, like, the first week or so, but I was still very, very, very surprised how many people were still, like, in the theater, like, yeah, hell yeah, woo! Sorry, but it was just one of the coolest things that has ever fucking happened. And kind of going into like what I brought up earlier with, like, you know, the good ideas and like just like the Hollywood fulfilling of contracts. Like, you know, we've seen reboots and reunions do this a million fucking times, just try to like trick us and like catch us with just fanfare and fan service to, you know, distract us from whatever bullshit that they didn't even attempt to try hard on. Like, there were no good ideas had they just wanted money and they wanted attention, which is usually the case with a lot of these like reboots or reunions. Not to be a dick, but like a lot of these actors that do all these like reunions and reboots, like, that was the fucking best thing that they ever did, and it's a thing that everyone knows them for, and they know that's how they'll get the most like adoration and attention. So they just like sign on to these reunions that are always like not good, not as cool, they never hit as hard, because they're never good ideas, they're just money, right? They're just fucking money. But This was not that. Like, this was no cameo rebooting bullshit. This was like taking the legacy that these three men have created over 20 years and like turned it into this interwoven, living, breathing story that did all of them justice and elevated the franchise as a whole. And it was just fucking incredible. Like, I just still can't believe that it happened. And I had my apprehensions at first, but I was so beyond excited. And I would be remiss to not talk about Andrew Garfield first, because wow, I felt like he was a real big standout in this movie. And I feel like I can tell by kind of the content I've been seeing online that I'm like not the only one who thinks this. But I'm just really happy for him. Like, I really wanted to talk about this on my spoiler-free stream because I was so blown away. I had recently watched Tick, Tick, Boom, which he was great in. And then I had also recently watched, like I've said, the Amazing Spider-Man movies. And sorry if some of you guys, this might upset some of you guys, but in my opinion, those are just like not good movies. And I felt really bad for him because like I thought there was some good stuff in there, you know, like it was actually interesting, like watching him in Tick, Tick, Boom. I was like, wow, like his theatrical leanings really lended themselves to the physicality of like how he acted in the Spider-Man suit. Like he's very good at like emoting with his body, like a theater actor, which I thought was very, very interesting and probably is what has helped Tom Holland too. But I mean, even the idea with the Parker blood, I think is interesting. Like there's good stuff in there, but overall, like they're just like not good movies. And Andrew Garfield fucking loves Spider-Man and he loves that franchise and has so much reverence and respect and admiration for it all, not just like his movies, but like Spider-Man as a whole. And I'm just really, really happy for him. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's like when you see the good guy get the girl, like I feel he deserves it. It's so cute. It's so goddamn stinking cute because it kind of feels like a little bit of a redemption, you know? Like he deserved to have Amazing Spider-Man movies and Amazing Spider-Man movies. I did not do that on purpose, but it was kind of funny. But, I just feel like as someone who kind of got served, who was kind of immortalized as like the lowest bar Spider-Man, now no one can say that ever again because he was a superstar in this movie. Like going from watching I had just watched the Amazing Spider-Man movies and then I saw No Way Home. He has grown so much as an actor. It's actually insane because I had watched them so recently back to back. I could literally see it on screen, just like in the nuances and just like the way he held himself and the way he delivered things. It's been like 8 years, right? It's been 8 years, 2012. Since that last movie, so it makes sense that, and he's been doing a lot of more like high caliber stuff, so it makes sense. But damn, it really, really, really showed in this movie, like to me personally, and I'm pretty sure for a lot of people, because I've heard this from two different people, that the MJ moment hit the hardest. Like that's when I cried the hardest, and like I started crying in anticipation of it the second time around. Like it was getting emotional just thinking about it. Like it was so cute. Like it really was so sweet, and it was like such a well-earned and like executed perfectly. Like the fact that just like the memory of it can make me emotional shows how much he accomplished in literally just like 3 lines and just his face and just the weight of oh my god, it was so good. But like Dan, that was like the part that got him to cry, and my friend's boyfriend is the same thing. Like I've heard from multiple people that like even if they didn't cry in the movie, they did cry during that part because he killed it, man. He really killed it. He was such a standout in this movie. I'm so happy for him. He went from being in kind of like the worst Spider-Man movies to being a part of the coolest fucking Spider-Man thing that's ever happened. Not just Spider-Man thing, the coolest superhero thing that's ever happened. So I'm very happy for him. But yeah, it was just so. Actually, I just saw this interview. I think that came out recently where he was talking about. He finally got to talk about being in the movie. It was so wholesome. Like he's definitely like wholesome content alert. But yeah, the way they brought in all the Spider-Man, it was definitely. It was perfectly balanced of like emotional and like funny, like definitely giving like fourth grade sleepover vibes. That part, I was that like Dan was like losing his shit during that part. He's just like, I could not believe that I was watching this like fourth grade sleepover. We're like, hey, what's the biggest monsters you guys have killed? And like cracking their backs and like, you know, positive talk and all that stuff. It was so adorable. It was so funny. They were all so charismatic in their own ways. It was so cute. And then it was also just fucking awesome. Like I also started I'm so lame. I get, like I've said, I cry when I get really excited. And the part when they finally start working together and they like are whipping each other with like, they pull each other up with their webs and they all land at the same time. Like I just start crying out of happiness. I do that like laugh cry thing. And it's just, oh man, like I was very pleasantly surprised with how they used each Spider-Man, right? Because they all played them a little bit differently and they're all kind of coming from a different place. But that scene where they all meet and they're talking about Aunt May and they kind of they bring up that very not cliche, but very well-known Spider-Man line, you know, with great power must also come great responsibility. And they talk about how that's why they didn't die for nothing. I lost it, and it was so yeah. It was so well done, and something that only could have been accomplished by having those three Spider-Men together because, like Andrew Garfield was saying in that interview, like a really big aspect of Spider-Man is how isolating it is and how incredibly lonely it is. And that's just a feature of his character. And like for this brief moment, they kind of got to realize that they're not alone in the universe and to kind of have this moment that grounds them in that like gentle, kind heart of Spider-Man, but also acknowledges the reality that isolation is kind of a part of it too. But then you have like future Spider-Man who's like, me and MJ worked it out and like we're doing good. It's just it was so awesome and it was so perfect. And actually, speaking of all three Spider-Man, I know, you know, everyone wants to talk about Andrew, everyone wants to talk about Toby, but I mean, I feel like I've definitely seen a lot of things online. You know, everyone likes to say Andrew was the best Spider-Man, Toby was the best Peter Parker, and then Tom Holland is like kind of good at both. But then everyone who says that he's just like mediocre at both, I don't know, can suck it. I think he's so awesome. Like I think he's such a good Spider-Man and a Peter Parker, and he too. Like I since I recently rewatched Spider-Man Homecoming, he was an incredible actor in that movie, and he was phenomenal in this movie. Like he too has really grown as an actor, but he actually started out from a really strong place, and these movies wouldn't be the same without him. So like he's fucking awesome. I think he's the perfect Peter Parker Spider-Man for this time, for now. And it was just cool. Okay. I'm done geeking out. Okay. What else do I want to talk about? Let me consult my notes. Let me also drink some water because I think I'm like talking myself to the point where I'm like losing my voice. Maybe streaming 3 times this week after I was sick is not the best idea, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Okay. What else happened? There are definitely some wow, cool moments that we need to acknowledge, that we need to talk about. The first one that comes to mind is the live action interpretation of the Spidey senses. Fucking dope. It was so cool. I loved it so much. I thought that whole part in the mirror dimension and fighting Doctor Strange in general was really fun when you see his like little spider senses like tingling, and then he turned it into geometry. I thought it was like, woo, this is a lot of fun. Love to see it. Daredevil. What? I forgot about that appearance. I'm talking about all these other appearances. I didn't even talk about fucking Daredevil. So excited. So excited. Perfect, short and sweet. Like I said, throw it in. We don't need it. I think that's another thing that the Homecoming trilogy does really well too. It's not like wasting a lot of time on like exposition that we obviously don't need. You know what I mean? Like, what was I gonna say? It's something that whenever I give this example, I always use the Thor as an example. Thor, yes. It was one of the reasons why that director left that movie, because at that point they were forcing him to do a lot of exposition, and the movie kind of suffered. You know what I mean? Because they were doing all these scenes where like, and then this is why this happened, and then this is why this is happening now, and this is why these characters feel this way. But with Daredevil, it's like, if you don't know who it is, fucking look it up later. It's not that important right now, but he's here. He's going to be his lawyer. He has superpowers. Boom. Cool. Let's see it. Move on. I'm so happy he's going to be a part of the universe. I was going to be devastated if him and Vincent D'Onofrio didn't get to reprise their roles if they were to bring them into the greater MCU fold. Although tomorrow, okay, I'll try not to talk about it, but I'm pretty pissed about the Kingpin stuff in Hawkeye. Definitely rubbed me the wrong way, but we'll get into that tomorrow. But I'm just happy to see him there because Daredevil, the Netflix show, is probably one of my favorite shows of all time. Not just superhero shows, like favorite shows of all time, bar none. So I was super excited to see him. I think the little threesome friendship, like Ned, MJ, and Peter, is fucking adorable. They're so stinking cute. Like, I love them. I think it's really smart. I think it's something that the MCU does a lot, where they kind of lean into where chemistry is good. And it's a very smart thing to do because it's one of the things that carries the movie and makes it so feel like home. Coming Far From Home, No Way Home. It does have a very homey feel to it. And I think the chemistry between the main cast really lends itself to that. And it's not just a romance, like it's like, because the other movies had like Peter's friends in it. And actually, no, the Spider-Man Tobey movies, like the friendship with the James Franco, oh my God, I can't remember his name, Harry, felt a little more genuine. The Harry and the Amazing Spider-Man 2, I was like, who is this bitch? Like, do we even know each other? Like, it did not feel real at all. But like the intensity of his relationship with this Ned, I feel like feels almost just as strong as his relationship with MJ, maybe even more. So it's like even that scene on the roof, oh my God, after May dies and they're all like hugging each other, crying, I'm like sobbing. I think they're just so cute together. I love the way they interact on screen. I talked about this a little bit in my spoiler-free review, but I think Tom Holland and Zendaya are adorable. I think they're very cute, and I hope they're together in real life. And I really hope if they are together in real life, they make it for a really, really long time. Because I don't know why. I don't know why we as a society love celebrity couples, but sometimes I fall for that trap. And when it comes to Tom Holland and Zendaya, I fell for it. I don't know. What can I say? I can't control it. Like, I think they're adorable, and I really hope those sweet little kids make it because they have great chemistry and they're so cute. They obviously get on very, very well. If you can tell by any interview of them together. I'm gonna wipe my nose. But yeah, adorable, super cute. What other cool things happen? I like the way they made this version of Elektra's costume where it looked a little more like the classic costume but was still updated. Another MCU feature that I really, really love. J. Jonah Jameson, incredible. The whole Breitbart thing and like selling supplements was so fucking funny. I was dying. The ending, I actually like really loved the ending. I thought it was perfectly timed and heartbreaking and appropriate. Like, yeah, I don't know. I really like the way that they ended the movie because like this whole movie was very much like a Spider-Man movie, right? Like it was very much Spider-Man becoming a man because a lot of the Home trilogy has been focused on the adolescence of Peter Parker, which is actually something I've very much enjoyed because the previous Spider-Man movies, it didn't feel like Peter Parker was in high school. Like, you know, obviously Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are like in their mid-20s when they're making these movies, and they say they're in high school, but they don't look like they're in high school. They don't act like they're in high school. It's like, it doesn't feel high schooly, where it's like Homecoming makes me feel like I'm in high school. Like, it's such a good movie. It makes me remember those feelings of like being a teenager and like these small moments feeling like the biggest deal in the world. And because that is an actual feature of the Spider-Man character, is that he's just a kid, you know, like he gets into these very adult situations, but he's just a fucking kid. And becoming a man and like leaving and like not really getting to like fully experience like his childhood is part of his character. And I think that's something this trilogy has done really, really well. And I've seen online that people are saying that like the entirety of the Home trilogy, like Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home, were the MCU's Spider-Man's complete origin story, like those three movies together. And I really like that because I think that's very apt and very appropriate. And now, because we haven't gotten to see a lot of Spider-Man, you know, we've seen a lot of Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man, but we haven't really seen Spider-Man, you know, and so it feels like he is now Spider-Man, but it also kind of feels like they maybe set it up for it to end here. So I really do feel like they kind of left I feel like it's kind of open-ended, because if it ended here, I think it would kind of be a good enough ending for people to like make their peace with it. But then there's also like so many places that you can go for it. Maybe it's those contract deals that are still kind of up in the air, so they don't want to like, you know, have anything set in stone. So they're just like ended it on a really like jumping off, but like with a nice little bow wrapped around it point. Yeah. I mean, she was wearing the necklace, you guys. I don't know. But I also thought it was a very sweet moment. And also like a very Spider-Man moment where he's just like, oh, man, I hurt my girl. I can't be putting her through this. They're better off without me. I gotta go. Like, they won't even notice I'm gone anyway because I never go to fucking prom. I don't go to the school trips. I don't do anything. So, yeah. Although how they got rid of Peter Parker, I would love to know more details on, because who did I see say it? Was it Rob? Comics Explained. I think I watched his review, and he was talking about how, like, what about the digital footprint? You know what I mean? Like, aren't there like social media accounts and like tweets about Peter Parker? Like, what's going to happen with that? I mean, it's a spell, but it doesn't like erase time. So I'm definitely curious to see how like all that stuff went together. I think, what else am I missing? I guess I could talk about things I didn't like. Actually, because there wasn't much I didn't like. And I feel like the things I didn't like, I kind of already said. I guess the only thing I didn't like that I didn't mention was, I think there were definitely some parts I felt like it was like kind of edited. Ugh, it's always a tongue twister. Edited weird. Edited weird. That I almost, oh my God, someone almost caught me in my spoiler-free stream that I almost said this, and then I was like, and just like sucked it back up into my brain. But it definitely felt like there were lots of scenes that people filmed separately that they just kind of green screened and spliced together, because there weren't a lot of, they're both in the shots. It was like this person in front of this background and then this person in flash. You know what I mean? Like they're just reading lines against each other, which always lends for a little bit of jaunty awkwardness in the editing process that I kind of noticed. But they were trying to keep that secret so I cannot believe they actually kept the secret for that long. Like, it's actually crazy. That's also something I almost said on the stream that I had to like walk back real quick. But like Dan was like, damn, they really edged us to the very, very end. And they got it, and they did it. They edged us and they did it. Like, they kept the goddamn secret. They didn't even let those motherfuckers go to the premiere. So it's crazy that they kept the secret. But yeah, you can definitely see that in some of the scenes. The internet's relentless these days. You catch those two together and it's over. Yeah, I think that's it, you guys. Is that all I have to say about Spider-Man? It has been an hour, so and I feel like I haven't taken a breath once. Damn, I actually kind of have a headache from that's my leftover thing of being sick. But okay, yeah, I think those are my thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home. So we can start opening it up to the chat. You guys can send any questions or anything if you would like, and we can kind of start talking about it, because I kind of want to hear your thoughts on the movie as well. Sorry, when I am on one, if I start reading the chat too much, I'll lose my train of thought, which happens sometimes when you see me brain fart. It's because I'm like looking at the chat and then I got distracted. I need to get better at that. Maybe I just need to have like a practice sesh with you guys where I just do like a members only stream where I try to like continue a thought while you guys also say stuff to me. Practice. Okay. No sweat stain, stream harder. Am I sweating? It's pretty good. It's also freezing. My little office is in the garage, and it's like 50 degrees and 50 degrees in San Francisco, and there's no insulation in here, but it's the only place in my house where I could have some like space for my stuff. So I just come down here and I freeze my ass off every day. I actually have gloves that I wear when I'm working. Little fingerless gloves that I use when I work. So sad. I love you guys too. I'm also wearing my cool new bow shirt. I'm going to read through real quick. I also hope everyone had a lovely holiday break. I also want to hear about the content that for tomorrow that you're most excited to talk about. Like, what should I start with? Should I start with Matrix? Should I start with Witcher? Should I start with Arcane? I also have a hard time of letting silence sit in streams. Is that something I should work on, or should I make weird sounds when I'm in between things? Yep. Inside burp. Oh, one thing I also just thought of. I feel like, does anyone else feel like I thought Toby was gonna die. Like, I full on thought it seemed like they were gonna he died, and they just like they filmed both, and that they like changed their minds, and they're like, maybe we gotta too heavy, or like I don't know if this is the choice we want to make, so they just let it go. Oh, post-credit scene. I guess we can talk about that. Start with Witcher. Yeah, Witcher was fucking dope. Jedi, don't bash Kingpin too bad. Oh, well. I don't know. They didn't kill Toby so you can be a doctor. Yeah, I get the feeling of that too. Ooh, you do fingerless gloves too. Interesting. Oh yeah, seeing Toby and Otto have that conversation was also very, very emotional. Like, after he lost his mind, because how often, I think that was a very quietly impactful moment, right? When you get someone back from them losing their mind, that never happens, and it's so tragic and so sad to see someone become someone they're not, and then to get them back and then just be like, it's good to see you. I was like, also the post-credit scenes, Venom, wow. I don't really know what that means. Also, he didn't know who Peter, what, actually it's unclear how he got to this universe, because he didn't know who Peter Parker was, but then Venom seems to also be able to travel in multiversal ways, so maybe that's how he got here. I don't know, but I don't know if Tom Hardy's going to be in it, but we're definitely, seems like we're going to see Venom in the future. And also, that Multiverse of Madness movie looks fucking sick. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for Sam Raimi to make his return to Marvel. It looks like it's going to be super weird, super creepy. I really hope they lean into the creepiness. Wanda's fingers were all black and stuff. It just looks like it's going to be dark. We got Dark Doctor Strange. I'm really, really amped on that one. I think that's the one I'm most excited about, because I really like Magic Marvel, and I really want them to go super hard on it. Okay, guys, I think that is where I'm going to end it for today. I will be back tomorrow. We're going to do a content catch-up stream. We're going to talk about The Witcher. Maybe I should probably need to add that into the title or whatever. You guys fucking know. We'll talk about The Witcher. We're going to talk about The Matrix. We're going to talk about Hawkeye, and we're going to talk about Arcane League of Legends. And then on Wednesday, we'll talk about Book of Boba. All right. Thank you guys for coming to a Sunday stream. I know weekends are harder for a lot of you. Thank you for waiting for a couple weeks. Thank you for waiting another week after I got sick. It's always something. But I appreciate you. And I hope you have a good rest of your evening. Happy Sunday, guys. Happy Spider-Man